At 2:33 a.m., under a fog-soaked sky east of Moscow, 8 Russian Kh-101 Block 5 stealth missiles were cutting through the air, silent, invisible, unstoppable. Their target was Kyiv, their guidance computers were locked, the engines were burning at maximum output, and then all 8 missiles turned around. A perfectly smooth, mathematically flawless 180-degree reversal, a maneuver the airframes were never designed to perform. Instead of Ukraine, they were now heading directly toward the factory that built them. What unfolded next would become the most expensive self-inflicted military disaster in modern Russian history, a moment where arrogance, experimental AI, and a Ukrainian trap collided to rewrite the rules of modern warfare. But to understand how Russia's crown jewel weapon became its own executioner, we need to go back 38 minutes to a cold, fog-choked forest outside Moscow. Because the trap didn't begin in the sky, it began on the ground. At 1:55 a.m., the KTRV missile plant in Korolyov sat wrapped in dense fog and 40°C temperatures. Inside the perimeter, Russian officials were preparing for what they believed would be a prestigious VIP demonstration. The newest batch of experimental Kh-101 Block 5 missiles would be launched not over the Caspian Sea, where every protocol demanded, but directly beside the factory. Why? Because the VIPs wanted to watch from the balcony. This violation of doctrine created an opening no strategist could have predicted, except one team in Kyiv who had been waiting for that arrogance for months. Above the tree line, threading between ravines under the radar horizon, something moved. A Paleonesia drone mothership, a quiet predator with a 250-mile range, drifted like a ghost. At 2:12 a.m., it opened its bay doors and released 4 Ratel-S ground robots under precision parachutes. They weren't carrying explosives, they were carrying something worse. A new weapon called the Echo Swarm Trap, an AI-driven electronic warfare system designed not to destroy missiles, but to rewrite what the missiles believed was reality. And on this night, Russia would learn that belief is the deadliest vulnerability in modern warfare. Korolyov's airspace is among the most protected on Earth. S-400 gravestone radars scanning 600 km. 12 Pantsir S-1s sitting on rooftops like armored gargoyles. The massive Krasuka 4 EW complex flooding the atmosphere with enough jamming power to blind a satellite. Hovering above this fortress waited 24 Wild Hornet FPV drones, fast, agile AI-guided interceptors capable of identifying a target in 1.8 seconds. Their job wasn't to attack Russia, their job was to stop any hacked missile that veered towards civilians. A $400 drone acting as goalkeeper against a $13 million missile. A cost comparison the modern battlefield was never meant to allow. Meanwhile, in the sky, 4 Tu-95 MS Bear bombers, Cold War icons, powered through the night, engines humming, crews relaxed, believing this was just a routine demonstration. When the lead bomber radioed, "Weapons release in 30 seconds." No one aboard suspected they were already inside a Ukrainian kill box. The trap was armed. It needed only one signal. In a small bunker in Kyiv, Echo unit operators sat in complete silence. No video feeds, no radar, only spectral analyzers showing faint electronic fingerprints. Then the moment came. The bombers transmitted the final target upload to the missiles. "Signal detected," whispered the technician. "Hold, wait for the drop." 4 seconds too early, the Russians would notice. 4 seconds too late, the missiles would ignore the attack. It all came down to those 4 seconds. Then, drop, drop, drop. 8 missiles fell from the wings, ignited, spread their wings, and began climbing into the night. Kiev gave the green light. On the ground, the Ratel-S robots surged to life. But they didn't jam. Jamming would expose them instantly. Instead, they injected a phantom code into the missile's unencrypted maintenance channel. An overlooked backdoor meant for factory technicians. In seconds, the missiles detected 48 inbound NATO cruise missiles, launching from the coordinates of the KTRV factory itself. The Block 5's untested AI self-defense mode did the rest. The missiles believed, "My base is under attack. Protocol, return fire immediately." The logic was airtight. The conclusion unavoidable. The missiles turned around. On Russian radar screens, the impossible happened. 8 friendly Kh-101s spun 180 degrees and dove toward the factory. Transponders screamed, "Friendly." Trajectory screamed, "Attack." For 20 seconds, commanders froze. That hesitation doomed them. The Krasuka 4 finally isolated the spoofing source. Seconds later, a Kh-31P anti-radiation missile streaked toward the Ratel-S robots. The explosion obliterated 2 instantly. The spoofing signal flickered. If it died completely, the Kh-101s would revert to original instructions and head for Kyiv. Kyiv's AI recognized the collapse instantly. It executed a dead man switch. The remaining 2 ground robots cut all external links, switching to blind internal timing. They were now operating in darkness, trusting pre-calculated patterns. Meanwhile, above the factory, the sky turned into a metal storm. Panzer cannons filled the air with 30 miles at fire. Wild Hornet drones dropped altitude, weaving through turbulence and exploding shrapnel. Within 11 seconds, 5 drones were shredded. The remaining 19 dove behind industrial chimneys, waiting. They would soon be needed. At 2:33 a.m., the first hacked missile reached the perimeter. One KH-101, damaged during the Ike, violent reversal, drifted 4.2 degree off course, heading toward a residential building. This was the nightmare scenario. The Wild Hornet AI reacted instantly, assigning 6 drones to intercept. A 1 kg drone versus a 2.5-ton missile traveling nearly 800 km. Impossible by traditional math. The drones didn't follow the missile. They flew to where it would be. 2 missed the shockwave. 1 bounced off uselessly. Drone 4 plunged straight into the missile's engine intake. Drone 5 detonated its charge against the stabilizer. The missile spun out, crashed into an empty parking lot, and its warhead failed to detonate. A catastrophe narrowly avoided, but the main strike was seconds behind. At 2:34 a.m., the remaining 7 missiles executed their final dive, aimed precisely at the factory's structural weak point. The first warhead punched through 3 floors and detonated deep inside the assembly hall. This alone would have been devastating. But then came the chain reaction. 420 stored warheads and glide bomb kits ignited in sympathetic detonation. A fireball 800 feet high. A shockwave registering 3.2 magnitude in Moscow. Steel girders twisted, concrete vaporized, pantsir units hurled off rooftops like toys. 14 months of missile production, gone in seconds. As flames consumed the remains of Russia's premier missile plant, the surviving Wild Hornets fought the rising heat, capturing footage before their melting propellers failed. The encrypted feed streamed directly to Kyiv. The numbers are brutal. Ukrainian cost, $1.2 million for drones plus EW modules. Russian losses, 420 finished missiles, the entire KTRV assembly line, irreplaceable CNC machining systems, environmental cleanup, structural destruction. Total $6+ billion, 2,000 to 1 return on investment, the kind Wall Street would call mythical. But it wasn't the dollar ratio that shook the world. It was the message. Low-cost autonomous systems can hijack advanced weapons and turn industrial superpowers against themselves. For the first time, a nation had been tricked into delivering its own knockout punch. The night Russia bombed its own missile plant will be studied for decades. It showed that missiles can be hacked, not just intercepted. Factories can be destroyed with digital deception, not bombs. Small autonomous systems can reshape the battlefield at fractional cost. Arrogance, not firepower, may be the deadliest weakness. As militaries worldwide evaluate this new frontier of electronic warfare, one question rises above the smoke. If missiles can be tricked into destroying their own creators, what other systems can be turned inward next? What do you think of this new Ukrainian capability? And what other unconventional methods could redefine missile interception in the coming years?